Hey there, Sparkrock community. We're happy to introduce a much requested feature for Sparkrock Finance, allocation accounts. To make data entry efficient and to reduce errors, you can use allocations to predefine how to distribute revenue or costs across GL accounts and dimensions. You can use allocations on document and document lines and in most journals. This can save you a lot of time because you don't have to split up entries manually. There are two main types of allocation accounts. If you have a split that's repeated each time, you can use a fixed amount. So let's say you have a certain software expense and you want to split that in fixed percentages between multiple schools or departments, you'd use fixed for that. You can split it to different GL accounts or the same GL accounts with different dimensions or a combination. Now, variable allocation accounts let you automatically distribute amounts across multiple GL accounts or dimensions based on changing values, not just fixed percentages. We'll show examples of both, but both fixed and variable allocation accounts support Sparkrock's account sets if you use them. So in this video, we're going to show the setup for fixed and variable allocation accounts in Sparkrock Finance. We're going to demonstrate how to use allocation accounts using a purchase order example. And then we're going to show how to use allocation accounts using a general journal example. So let's get started. Allocation account setup starts with going to Tell Me, then searching for allocation accounts, and navigating to the allocation accounts page. We'll start with creating a fixed allocation account. So we'll select New. And let's say when we buy printers, we want to split the cost between computer expenses, software, and office supplies 45, 35, and 20%. And we want to give different account sets to each of them. So we'll call this printers. For account type, you have option fixed or variable. We'll leave it at fixed. And we want to split the amount. You can also split the quantity, but we're going to split the amount in our case. And so for the destination account type, you can do GL account, bank account, or inherit from parent. I'll talk about that later. But for now, we'll leave it at GL account. And let's say we want to do computer expenses first. So we'll select other computer expenses. You can also select an account set. And if you put in the account number first, it will filter by that account number. So I'll select account set code here. And we said we wanted this to be 45%. Next line, we'll do our second GL account. Again, we'll select our account set. And this one, we want to be 35%. And you can see as we're entering these shares, it's calculating the percentage of the total for us. And finally, we'll do our office supplies, select our account set, and this one is going to be 20%. So we've got 45, 35, and 20%. We've got our split set up. We can view the dimensions for each line. So if I select this first line here and go to dimensions, if you selected an account set, it will take the dimensions from that account set. If you haven't, you can manually set them up or change them here. And it will have the different dimensions for each line. We can select test allocation, put in say $1,000, and you can see how it's going to distribute it based on the amount that you enter here. So if we enter $10,000 here, you can see it's automatically splitting it. So you can check how the allocation is working. So this is a simple example, but you can use this concept on any type of allocation you want to split based on fixed percentages to split up between GL accounts, dimensions, or a combination. So that was a fixed allocation account. Let's create a variable allocation account. So we'll select New again. The general concept with variable allocations is similar, but now instead of breaking it down on a fixed percentage, we'll break it down depending on some other value. Now, future versions of Sparkrock Finance will support breaking it down by non-financial measures like headcount, number of students, or square footage. But for now, we're going to break it down by the amount of revenue. In this test database I'm using, it'll be split based on sales between domestic and export revenue. So I'll just call it revenue here. This time we're going to select variable. So this time we're going to split between advertising and miscellaneous expenses based on the split between domestic and export revenue. So in this case, we're going to choose advertising. Last time we used account sets. This time to change it up, we'll just set the dimensions manually. And for variable accounts, next we select a breakdown account. So this could be based on splitting between GL accounts and bank accounts. Statistical accounts will be coming soon. So I'm going to leave it at GL account. And again, we're going to break it down by the type of revenue. And then you have the calculation period. So you have a lot of options. You can break it down based on the balance of the date of your transaction. You can do it by date range. So you could say, I want to break this down based on the amount of changes in my breakdown account over the last year or something like that. I'm just going to keep it simple and leave it at balance at date. You also have the option to break it down by filters. If you wanted it to consider just certain dimensions, you can do that there as well. And so we said that we want to break this to advertising based on domestic sales. And let's say we want to also give it dimensions. And again, you could do this by account sets if you'd like. So we'll give it a dimension there. The second one we're going to do is miscellaneous. Again, we won't use an account set for this one, but we could. Again, this time we want to break this down by the amount of export. We'll leave it at balance at date, and we'll give this line a dimension as well. And again, you could do this by account set if you'd like. So now we'll do a test allocation like we did last time. And you can see for $1,000, it's going to do this split between an advertising and miscellaneous expense. This is the amount it's going to split, and it's doing that based on this breakdown between the balance of domestic versus export sales. And that's the percentage at this current time, at this current date. And you can play with this date to see how that split will change. As you can imagine, you can get very flexible and very complicated with your variable account splits, depending on your needs. So now we have a fixed and variable allocation account. Let's see them in action. Okay, I'm here on a purchase order and have the header filled out. On our line, instead of an item or GL account, I'm going to select an allocation account here. Then under the number, we'll select our printer's allocation account that we set up. I'll give it 1 for quantity. I'll set the amount to $1,000, set the text group. And now before we do anything else, let's go to Post, Preview Posting. And if we go to our GL entry, and you can see, just like we set it up in our allocation account, it's automatically split it up 45, 35, 20 with the dimensions that we had defined. We're not stuck with these percentages though. With our line selected, we can go Line, Redistribute Account Allocations. Again, it's going to show our allocations, and we can change them here if we'd like. We can reset the account set code. We can change the dimensions. We can even upload an Excel file that has a list of the lines we want to change, and it will automatically update this page, which will then update the allocations that will get posted. So let's say I want to change this to be 300 here and 250 here. I can close. Yes, I want to save the changes. And now again, when we go preview posting and go to our GL entry, you can see now instead of 45, 35, 20, it's 45, 30, 250, just like we just changed. So that's our purchase order example. Now let's take a look at a general journal example. Okay, I'm here in general journal. We can set our account set if we'd like. For account type though, instead of GL account, we're going to select allocation account. And again, we're going to select our account number. This time we'll select the revenue one, the variable allocation account that we just created. Again, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to put $1,000 for our amount. And again, we're going to preview posting. We'll take a look at our GL entry. And like we saw earlier, it's splitting up that percentage based on the accounts that we had set earlier. And again, we have our dimensions here that we had manually defined instead of using account sets that time. Now with our line selected, we can go to Actions, Functions. We have that redistribute account allocations that we just saw. You can do the exact same thing in the general journal or any journal really. And there's this also another option that was also on the purchase order that we didn't talk about last time, which is generate lines from allocation account line. You may want to use this allocation account to perform the split, but you might want the final version of your journal or your document to reflect what actually gets posted. In that case, this generate lines from allocation account line will replace this allocation account line with the results of the split. It's kind of easier to show than explain. So when I select this option here, you can see it's replaced that line we just had with the split version, with the account numbers and the amounts based on that revenue split that we had set up. So now you and any other reviewers can now see what will actually get posted right here in the journal or on the purchase document. By the way, when you were watching the setup, especially for variable accounts, you might have been thinking to yourself, we have so many GL accounts. Do we really have to set up an allocation account for each one of these splits? And there is a more flexible way to do it. Instead of selecting GL account here, I'm going to select inherit from parent. And I'll do this on both of these lines. And then I'll make sure the dimensions are different, which we know they are department production, department administration, just to keep it simple. And when I do a test allocation, you can see it's kept the split the same because we've kept the same breakdown account to base the split off of. So now back on the general journal, this time instead of selecting allocation account, I'll leave it at the advertising GL account. However, when I scroll over to the right, you can see there's a new allocation account number column. And if I select that revenue allocation account that we set up earlier, and we set it to inherit from parent, now what it should do is it should still post this to the 6100 GL account. However, it should split it between the dimensions that we just set. When we go to preview posting, go to GL entry, you can see indeed it's done the same split that we had before, but this time it's splitting between the two dimensions, even though we didn't have to manually specify that advertising account in the allocation account. So that's it for this release. With fixed and variable allocation accounts in Sparkrock Finance, you can automate complex distributions, eliminate manual calculations, and ensure allocations are consistent and audit-friendly. Whether you're processing purchase orders or journal entries, allocation accounts help you focus less on the math and more on delivering value to the communities you serve. For more details, check out the release notes and let your customer success manager know if there are any other allocation scenarios you'd like us to capture. Thank you so much for watching.